Hey everybody, this is Crazy Daylight and this is my tutorial about using the Ableton Live vocoder. For quite a while I've been using a hardware vocoder and recently I decided to have a go at using the Ableton one and see how good of a sound I could get out of it, because I generally hadn't been happy with the sound, but I figured if I played around a bit I might be able to get something decent out of it, and I think I've got something now that's usable in a song. I came up with this while I was working on a remix for None Like Joshua, Boy in a Band and Seamless. They all collabed on this track. Check out their music, it's really awesome stuff, especially Seamless. He does some great tutorials. So this is what the tune itself sounded like, my remix. You can hear the vocoder in there. You can hear that it's a bit of a Daft Punk sort of aesthetic, retro vocoder, robot voice thing. I really dig that sound. Use it quite a bit in my tunes. So let's get into the actual tutorial. I'll try and recreate that sound for you, and then you can do it at home yourselves. So what I used in that track was their a cappella. It's a rapped a cappella. Quite often in my own tracks I'll do the vocals myself, but we'll use this for an example because I've already got it here, and it just sounds like this.
Picture the pit where we come into existence. The place of data was encrypted. My home is
just stock standard sort of rapped vocal there. First of all, what you're going to need to get started is the vocoder itself, so we'll just bring that down onto the track that the vocal is on, onto the audio track. Secondly, we'll need a carrier. There's two parts of the vocoder. Signal is the modulator, which is your dry vocal. Carrier is the synthesizer signal that you are putting in, that is modulated by the voice and gives you your melody and that kind of thing. So use an analog, just the Ableton stock standard synth. Works great. You don't need anything really complicated. And it's fairly basic what we do on here. Just using the two saw oscillators as they come. Get your amplitudes sorted out straight up so that they're full volume, because you don't want any attack or decay on the signal. You want it to just be a straight flat non-dynamic signal. So on both, I haven't got that second amp turned on yet, but that's now leveled out. Second part of this is noise. I always use it on my modulator carrier signals rather, and you want to route that to the second filter, which I'll turn on down here. The reason we split that off from the oscillator is because we want to wind up this color of the noise all the way to high, get it nice and bright, then get a high pass filter, 12 dB, and wind that to about 600 Hertz just to get all the mud out of that noise. That's pretty much everything you need to do with the synth. Moving on to the vocoder, we need to get that synthesizer actually going into the vocoder. We need to route it in there, so just choose external synth on the routing for the vocoder, select the analog, and now we've got the synth going into the vocoder. Settings for just the vocoder itself, get the sensitivity turned up, select the number of bands to 40 so you get that nice articulate sound, and also this range, we want to get the full frequency spectrum on the vocoder, so push that up to 18 kilohertz. This enhance feature as well works really nicely, crisps things up even more. You'll notice most of what I'm doing today is just getting that vocoder to sound crispy. So have a listen to what we've got so far.
Beacon into existence. It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet.
So that doesn't sound too bad. It's a bit airy, bit thin. Doesn't really have much grunt. If you put it in a mix, that's going to get lost quite easily. So next, it's a good idea to dirty it up. I've just got some MIDI here that I took from the original project, so that I didn't have to spend time boring you guys writing chords and a melody and that. But I can show you what I've got going on there just quickly. A little bit of melody stuff, mono melody, and then with the chords I tend to use for vocoding, it's a bass note, a triad chord, so you've got your C, E, G, and then I double that root note of the chord up the top again, so you've got 3 roots, the 3rd and the 5th, and same with all the chords essentially. That just, you know, it's a nice big voicing, gets things nice and fat. So let's dirty this sound up a bit. I like to use the isotope stuff. Where are we? This exciter, isotope exciter. If you haven't got that, I'm sure there'd be other multi-band distortion plugs that work well, but this one just sounds good to my ears on things like this because it's not too overpoweringly dirty. So just default settings, just crank up the higher bands.
It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet.
So that's with.
It was encrypted. My home is on a different. It was encrypted. My home is on a.
You can see there's a bit of difference there. That's the without.
It was encrypted. My home is on a different. It was encrypted. My home is on a different.
Essentially, just crisping it up once again. Next, more distortion. The overdrive, Ableton Overdrive. I really like this plugin. It's so simple. Band distortion, once again. Just tighten it up a little bit, tighten the Q up on the band, push it up higher. We're looking for that sort of mid-range grunt from this, and bring the dynamics down a little bit. You don't want to pancake it. And bring the dry wet down and just bring it in until it sounds nice.
It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet. A beacon into existence. It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet.
That sounds okay to me. It's definitely getting a bit more cutting, sort of sound that would cut through a mix nicely. Always when I do vocals, band compression is quite important. The C1, nearly lost everything then. Froze it. C1 SC waves compressor. It's fantastic. Use it a lot. It essentially just splits the frequency bands off, just one frequency band you can choose, and compresses just that part of the signal. So you want to use the split mode here with a low pass filter. So now everything that you can see below that red line is going to be compressed. So up here I would hear from that, just listening. Wind it up to say about 400 hertz. And the ratio you can put wherever sounds good to your ears. I usually compress the lows reasonably hard. 5 or 6 to 1 should be good. Tight attack time, want that nice and quick. And then just wind in the threshold.
It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet. It was encrypted. My home is on a different planet.
What that also does is when you have these low notes, in comparison with the chords. It balances out the lows, so you don't get any mud. More compression. I've been using the glue compressor, the Ableton one, quite a bit since it came out in the new version of 9. Sounds quite nice. If you don't have 9, the other compressor will do the trick just fine. But I use it because it's just something new and exciting.
Into existence. It was encrypted, my home is on a different planet. A beacon into existence. It was encrypted, my home is on a different planet. A beacon into existence. It was encrypted, my home is on a different planet. A beacon into existence. It was encrypted.
So I've just used the stock settings there. There's they seem to be working quite well. Bring the threshold down. All the compression's really doing. You won't hear too much difference here, but when you have it in a mix, it'll help all the articulation and sibilances and consonant sounds to cut through the mix. And that is the basis for the sound, mostly there. I'd also add a bit of EQ to this just to get it sounding a little bit fatter. Maybe let's just cut those bottom end frequencies out a bit. Maybe everything below about 200 Hertz.
Beacon into existence. It was encrypted, my home is on.
And give it a boost in the mids. Once again, you're not going to hear
Beacon into existence.
too much difference with this when it's not a mix, but once you get your mix happening. I also think that sounds
It was encrypted, my home is on a different.
just a little bit too bright for my ears, so all that distortion's great, but it's kind of made it a little bit harsh, so probably around this 4K area. Take a little notch out of that, maybe even a little.
It was encrypted, my home is on a different planet. It was encrypted, my home is on a different.
Just so it fattens it up. So I mean, you can hear it's not much difference there.
It was encrypted, my home is on a different. It was encrypted, my home is on a different. It was encrypted, my home is on a.
But it does sound fatter and fuller. So that's just about everything that you need to know to get that sound. I hope you guys have got something out of it. If you'd like to see more YouTube tutorials like this on music production, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Or if you'd just like to hear some music, then check out my SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/crazydaylight.